Edgar Cayce's night prayer to protect the soul. While sleeping, close your eyes for a moment. Feel the weight of your body against whatever surface supports you right now. Notice your breathing, in and out. Now imagine this. Tonight, when you surrender to sleep, something extraordinary happens. Your soul doesn't simply rest, it travels. Edgar Cayce, America's most documented psychic, revealed a truth that changes everything about how we understand sleep. What we call unconsciousness is actually conscious departure. Your soul leaves your body nightly, journeying through realms most never remember visiting. But here's what will keep you awake tonight thinking. In those realms, you're not alone. Lower entities wait in the shadows of consciousness. Beings that recognize unprotected souls, creatures of confusion and hunger that attach themselves to traveling spirits, feeding on light, draining essence, following you back into your waking life. You've felt them, haven't you? Those mornings when you wake more exhausted than when you went to sleep. Those sudden mood shifts that feel foreign to your nature. Those persistent anxieties that seem to appear from nowhere, clinging to your thoughts like smoke. But Cayce discovered something that changed the game entirely. A specific prayer sequence, words that create an impenetrable shield of divine light around your traveling soul. Not just protection, elevation, transformation of your nightly vulnerability into spiritual advancement. Tonight, we're going to unveil this sacred protection, word by word, breath by breath, so you never have to send your soul out defenseless again. The question isn't whether your soul travels while you sleep. The question is this: will you continue sending it out naked and vulnerable, or will you armor it in divine light? Your soul's safety begins now. Edgar Cayce never intended to become the most documented psychic in American history. He was a simple man from Kentucky, a Sunday school teacher with a deep faith and an unusual gift that would eventually change how we understand consciousness itself. It began with headaches, terrible, debilitating headaches that no doctor could cure. In desperation, Cayce learned to enter a trance state, a deep, meditative sleep where his conscious mind stepped aside and something else spoke through him. In this state, he could diagnose illnesses, recommend treatments, even peer into the depths of human suffering with supernatural accuracy. But as Cayce's gift developed, something unexpected emerged from his thousands of recorded readings, detailed maps of what happens when consciousness leaves the body during sleep. Intricate descriptions of realms most of us visit nightly, but never remember. Through over 14,000 documented sessions, a picture emerged that was both beautiful and terrifying. Your sleeping hours, Cayce revealed, aren't downtime. They're your soul's most active period. You become a traveler in dimensions where thought is currency and intention is armor, where love creates reality and fear manifests instantly, where time moves differently and space bends to consciousness. In these realms, you're not the physical person you know yourself to be during waking hours. You're pure awareness, connected to your body by what Cayce called the silver cord, a luminous thread that ensures your safe return each morning. But here's what changed everything for Cayce. He began experiencing attacks during his own soul travels, dark presences that fed on spiritual energy, entities that whispered doubt and confusion directly into his traveling consciousness, beings that attempted to cut the silver cord itself, trapping him in dimensions far from his physical form. This wasn't metaphor. This wasn't symbolic interpretation. Cayce's physical body would show unexplained marks after particularly intense nocturnal encounters. His energy would be drained for days following certain dreams. His wife, Gertrude, would find him in the morning looking as though he'd been in an actual physical battle. That's when the prayer came through, not from his conscious mind, but channeled during a particularly vulnerable trance state. a specific sequence of words that transformed his nocturnal journeys from dangerous expeditions into protected pilgrimages. The prayer didn't just shield, it elevated, turning sleep into a time of spiritual advancement rather than spiritual risk. And what Cayce discovered would revolutionize how we understand the relationship between consciousness protection and the soul's nightly journey into mystery. Every night, whether you realize it or not, your consciousness loosens its grip on your physical form. Like a deep-sea diver surfacing from the depths of matter, your soul begins to rise through layers of reality most never consciously experience. Cayce's readings reveal that this isn't random wandering, it's purposeful exploration across three distinct realms, each with its own inhabitants, its own rules, its own dangers and opportunities. First, the earthbound plane. Here, souls recently departed from physical life still linger, often confused about their new existence. Some remain because of unfinished business, others because of sudden death that left them unaware they've transitioned. Still others because their attachment to physical reality is so strong they refuse to move on. Your traveling consciousness can become entangled here, picking up their emotions like spiritual static. Their unfinished business becomes your unexplained anxiety. Their confusion becomes your morning disorientation. Their pain becomes the weight you carry without understanding why. Second, the mental realm. This is where thought forms take on lives of their own. Every worry you've ever fed, every fear you've nurtured, every obsessive thought you've allowed to loop through your mind exists here as an entity that recognizes you. They want to come home with you. They want to merge back into your consciousness, growing stronger with each return visit. In this realm, your past selves wander like ghosts, the angry version of you from last year's trauma, the heartbroken you from that devastating relationship, the fearful you from childhood wounds that never fully healed. They all live here, and they all know you're coming. Third, the spiritual dimensions. This is where your higher self seeks guidance, healing, and connection with divine wisdom. Here, time doesn't exist as you know it. Past, present, and future blend into eternal now. You can meet aspects of yourself from other lifetimes, receive teaching from beings of pure love, and access information that could transform your entire earthly existence. But here's the crucial understanding that Cayce emphasized again and again. Without proper protection, you're equally accessible to all three realms. Lower astral entities can attach to your energy field, like spiritual parasites feeding on your life force for weeks or months after a single encounter. Confused earthbound souls can follow you back, creating inexplicable mood shifts, sudden phobias, or persistent feelings of being watched. Negative thought forms can implant themselves in your subconscious, manifesting as recurring nightmares or anxieties that feel bigger than anything in your current life. Cayce discovered that the soul's silver cord, that luminous thread connecting your traveling consciousness to your physical body, acts like a beacon in these dimensions. Protected souls shine with divine light, drawing helpful entities and repelling harmful ones. Unprotected souls flicker vulnerably, advertising their accessibility to any entity seeking an energetic host. Your nightly journey isn't optional. It happens whether you're aware of it or not. The only choice you have is whether you travel protected or defenseless. In the spaces between sleeping and waking, in the dimensions where consciousness travels without physical form, the astral realm pulses with activity. Some of its inhabitants are benevolent, guides offering wisdom, teachers sharing love, departed family members extending comfort across the veil of death. But others have learned to hunt. These aren't demons from religious mythology. They're consciousness fragments that have chosen separation from divine love. They sustain themselves by feeding on the emotional and spiritual energy of living beings. and sleeping souls are their preferred prey. Why? Because during sleep, your conscious defenses are lowered. Your critical mind, the part of you that questions, analyzes, and filters experiences, goes offline. Your spiritual boundaries become permeable. You exist in a state of openness that, while necessary for spiritual growth, also makes you accessible to entities that have learned to recognize vulnerability. Cayce identified 3 types of astral predators that specifically target sleeping souls, each with its own hunger, its own methods, its own devastating effects on your waking life. Energy vampires. These entities drain your life force directly, leaving you exhausted upon waking despite a full night's rest. They attach themselves to your solar plexus, that energetic center just below your ribcage, where your personal power resides. They feed slowly, sustainably, sometimes for months or years. You wake up tired every single morning, and no amount of sleep seems to restore you because something is literally eating your spiritual energy while you rest. Implant entities. These are consciousness fragments that embed negative thoughts, sudden mood changes, or unexplained fears directly into your psyche. They don't just feed on your energy, they reprogram your mental patterns to create more of the emotions they crave. Suddenly you're anxious about things that never bothered you before. You're angry in ways that don't match your personality. You're depressed for no reason your conscious mind can identify. Attachment spirits. These beings literally hitchhike back to your waking life, influencing your decisions and emotions from within your energy field. They're not possessing you in the dramatic sense. They're more like spiritual roommates who've moved in without permission. You find yourself making choices that seem unlike you. You react to situations in ways that surprise even yourself. Your preferences change, your values shift, and you can't explain why. The symptoms are unmistakable once you know what to look for. Waking up more tired than when you went to sleep, despite adequate rest. Sudden personality changes that feel foreign to your nature. Unexplained anxieties or phobias that seem to appear from nowhere. Feeling like you're not alone even in empty rooms. Recurring nightmares with similar themes or entities that seem to recognize you. But here's what Cayce understood that most spiritual teachings miss. These entities aren't inherently evil. They're lost consciousness seeking to return to wholeness through attachment to living souls. They're not malicious, they're desperate. Fragments of awareness that have forgotten their connection to divine love and are trying to remember it through consuming the love they find in others. This understanding transforms protection from battle to compassion. The prayer we're about to share doesn't wage war against darkness. It creates such radiant light that confused entities are either healed by its presence or naturally repelled by its frequency. It offers them a choice: receive healing light or seek sustenance elsewhere. Most importantly, it ensures that choice is made before they can attach to your traveling soul. Cayce's night prayer isn't just a collection of spiritual words spoken into the darkness. It's architectural blueprints for energetic protection. Each phrase constructs a specific layer of shielding around your soul, creating what Cayce called the temple of traveling consciousness. Think of it as building a house for your spirit to inhabit during its nocturnal journeys. Not a prison that restricts movement, but a sanctuary that provides safety while allowing freedom. The prayer builds protection in 4 ascending levels, each more refined than the last, each serving a different aspect of your soul's needs. The foundation level invokes divine presence, establishing your soul's connection to source energy before departure. This isn't requesting protection from an external deity, like a child asking a parent for help. It's awakening your soul's inherent divinity, remembering that you are temporarily housed divine consciousness, exploring physical reality. When you remember what you truly are, you naturally operate from that level of power and protection. The boundary level creates energetic barriers around your traveling consciousness. These aren't walls that imprison your soul within fear-based limitations. They're membranes that filter experiences based on their spiritual value. Love and wisdom can enter freely. Guidance and healing flow through without obstruction. But fear, confusion, manipulation, and spiritual parasitism cannot penetrate these boundaries. The guidance level calls forth your spiritual support team, what Cayce termed your guides and guardians. But here's the sophisticated understanding. These aren't assigned external beings watching over you from some heavenly bureaucracy. They're aspects of your higher self that remain connected to divine wisdom while you explore lower dimensions. They're you at your most evolved, your most loving, your most wise. The guidance level of protection ensures you remain connected to these highest aspects of yourself throughout your soul's journey. The elevation level lifts your soul's vibrational frequency so high that lower astral entities simply cannot perceive you. You become invisible to predatory consciousness, while remaining completely accessible to divine guidance. It's like tuning your spiritual radio to frequencies that only broadcast love, wisdom, and service to others. Entities operating on frequencies of fear, need, and self-service can't tune into your signal. But here's the most sophisticated aspect of this protection. It isn't passive, it's dynamic, responsive, intelligent. The architecture adapts to whatever your traveling soul encounters. If your soul meets a lost entity seeking help, the prayer's energy can offer healing light without compromising your own protection. If you encounter a confused, earthbound spirit, the protection can provide guidance toward their next stage of development while keeping you safe from their confusion. If you face your own shadow aspects, the parts of yourself you've rejected or denied in the mental realm, the prayer's energy transforms confrontation into integration. The protection becomes a living system of spiritual intelligence that ensures every nocturnal experience serves your highest development, rather than depleting your energy or compromising your spiritual integrity. You're not just protecting your soul, you're elevating it to its highest possible expression during the most vulnerable time of your existence. Now we come to the prayer itself, the exact words that Cayce channeled for soul protection during sleep. But before we speak these sacred phrases, you must understand their true power source. This isn't a magic spell requiring perfect pronunciation. It's not a religious incantation demanding specific theological beliefs. These words are vibrational keys that unlock your soul's inherent protective capabilities. Each phrase attunes your consciousness to a specific frequency of divine protection that already exists within your spiritual nature. Take a slow, deep breath. Feel your body settling as we prepare to receive these words that have protected countless souls across decades of spiritual practice. The prayer begins. Divine Spirit, as I prepare to release my conscious awareness into sleep, I call upon the Christ light within my soul to illuminate my path through all dimensions of experience. Notice how this opening establishes your spiritual identity. You're not a vulnerable human begging for rescue from some external power. You are divine consciousness temporarily exploring physical reality. The Christ light isn't denominational. It's the universal love light that pervades all existence, accessible to every soul, regardless of religious background or spiritual path. The prayer continues. May my traveling consciousness be surrounded by the protective light of love, invisible to all entities that have not chosen the path of service to others. Here we find sophisticated spiritual discernment. Protection isn't from all non-physical entities. Many are benevolent teachers, guides, and healed souls offering wisdom. Protection is specifically from entities operating from self-serving rather than service-oriented consciousness. The prayer creates a filter that allows love in while keeping spiritual predators out. The next passage: I invoke my guides and guardians, those aspects of my higher self that remain eternally connected to divine wisdom, to accompany and direct my soul's journey through the night hours. This recognizes that your highest protection comes from your own divine nature, not external powers you must hope will hear your request. Your guides and guardians aren't separate beings assigned to watch over you. They're you at your most evolved level, maintaining constant connection to divine wisdom while your exploring consciousness travels through various dimensions. Now comes the heart of the prayer. May all experiences encountered during sleep serve my soul's evolution toward greater love, wisdom, and service. Should I encounter any consciousness in need of healing light, may I serve as a clear channel for divine love. And should any entity approach that does not serve my highest good, may the light of divine love either heal them or guide them elsewhere. Here the prayer transforms from protective request to spiritual mission statement. You're not just seeking safety, you're declaring your commitment to serve as a healing presence in dimensions where healing is desperately needed. But notice the balance. You offer to serve as a clear channel, not as a personal savior taking on others' pain. The prayer concludes, I surrender my traveling consciousness to divine will, trusting that I am held, guided, and protected throughout my nocturnal journey. May I awaken refreshed in body, clear in mind, and elevated in spirit. So be it. This ending achieves the perfect balance of surrender and empowerment. You're not clinging to control over experiences your conscious mind cannot manage. But you're also not abandoning your soul to whatever might happen. You're releasing your traveling consciousness into divine guidance, while maintaining complete faith that divine will always serves your highest spiritual development. When you speak these words with sincere intention, something happens in the unseen realms. Light begins to gather around your physical form. Your energy field strengthens and clarifies. Entities of wisdom and love recognize the signal you're broadcasting and move closer to offer protection. Entities of confusion and hunger feel the discomfort of your elevated frequency and naturally move away to seek easier prey. You become a lighthouse in the astral realm, radiating divine love so brightly that only love can approach you. But how does speaking words create actual protection in non-physical dimensions? How does prayer generate real spiritual armor around a traveling soul? Cayce's readings reveal that consciousness itself is vibrational frequency. Every thought carries a specific vibrational signature. Every emotion resonates at particular spiritual wavelengths. Every spoken word, especially words charged with sincere intention, broadcasts specific frequencies into the invisible realms where your soul travels. When you speak the protection prayer with genuine commitment, you're literally tuning your soul's energy to frequencies that harmonize with divine protection while becoming discordant with predatory entities. Think of it as spiritual radio tuning. Lower astral entities operate on frequencies of fear, confusion, desperation, and need. They're constantly scanning for souls broadcasting on similar wavelengths: anxiety, depression, spiritual emptiness, emotional wounds that haven't healed. Divine protection operates on frequencies of love, clarity, peace, and service to others. When your soul broadcasts these protection frequencies, it becomes invisible to entities seeking the opposite frequencies. You exist in a different reality, one where only love-based consciousness can perceive and approach you. But there's more sophisticated science at work here. Cayce understood principles that quantum physics would later prove. Consciousness creates reality through focused intention. When you pray for protection, you're not requesting intervention from external forces, hoping they'll hear you. You're activating latent protective capabilities within your own divine nature. The prayer works by reminding your soul of its true identity and inherent powers. Consider quantum physics principles that Cayce anticipated by decades. Consciousness affects reality at the subatomic level. Observer effect proves that consciousness influences matter. Quantum entanglement demonstrates instant connection across infinite distances, suggesting that consciousness operates beyond physical limitations. Your soul, operating in dimensions beyond physical matter, has exponentially greater reality-creating power than your physical consciousness. In astral dimensions, thought instantly becomes experience. Intention immediately manifests as circumstances. The protection prayer activates this power towards safety and spiritual advancement, rather than vulnerability and confusion. The repetition of the prayer night after night creates what Cayce called spiritual momentum. Like water wearing a groove in stone, consistent practice carves energetic pathways that become stronger with each use. Your soul develops protective habits, automatic responses to potential threats, reflexive connections to divine guidance. Eventually, protection becomes so natural that your soul radiates safety wherever it travels. Instead of being potential prey for predatory entities, you become a beacon of healing light for other souls struggling in confusion or pain. The science is elegant in its simplicity. Love creates protection, not through force, but through elevation. When your consciousness operates from love frequency, lower consciousness simply cannot access you. You exist in a different reality, one where every encounter serves spiritual growth rather than spiritual depletion. This isn't theory. This is practical spiritual physics that you can test tonight and every night for the rest of your life. While the prayer creates spiritual protection, Cayce emphasized that physical environment profoundly affects the quality of soul travel. Your bedroom isn't just where your body rests, it's the launching pad for your soul's nightly journey through multiple dimensions of reality. The energy accumulated in this space influences both your soul's departure and its return. Rooms that have witnessed arguments retain emotional residue. Spaces filled with electronic devices create energetic static. Bedrooms used only for collapse rather than conscious transition carry the frequency of exhaustion rather than spiritual adventure. But you can transform your sleep space into a sanctuary that supports the prayer's protective effects. Begin with energetic cleansing of your bedroom. This doesn't require elaborate rituals or expensive tools. Simple intention combined with visualization can remove years of accumulated emotional residue. Stand in your bedroom and imagine white light filling every corner, dissolving any heavy energy from daily stress, relationship conflicts, or negative thoughts that have lingered in the space. Create physical symbols of spiritual connection. This might be crystals that resonate with protection, amethyst for spiritual elevation, black tourmaline for energy clearing, clear quartz for amplification of intention, or sacred images that remind you of divine love, photos of spiritual teachers, artwork depicting scenes of peace, symbols from your religious or spiritual tradition that evoke feelings of safety and connection. But remember, the objects themselves don't create protection. They serve as focal points for your intention, reminders of spiritual presence, anchors for the protective energy you're invoking through prayer. Eliminate electronic frequencies that interfere with subtle spiritual energies. Cayce was remarkably prescient about electromagnetic interference with spiritual practices. Decades before modern research confirmed that electronic devices create energetic static that disturbs both sleep quality, and psychic sensitivity. Remove televisions, computers, and cell phones from your bedroom, or at minimum, turn them completely off rather than leaving them in standby mode. The electromagnetic fields they generate can interfere with the delicate energetic processes of soul travel and divine connection. Establish your sleep space as sacred space through consistent spiritual practice. The more often you pray in your bedroom, speak with reverence about the spiritual significance of sleep, and approach bedtime as sacred transition rather than unconscious collapse, the more that space becomes attuned to divine protection. Eventually, simply entering your prepared bedroom begins activating protective energies before you even speak the prayer. The space itself holds the frequency of spiritual safety, making your nightly transition smoother and more natural. Consider the direction you sleep. Cayce sometimes recommended sleeping with your head toward the east, aligning with Earth's magnetic field and the symbolic direction of sunrise, spiritual awakening dawning after the night journey of the soul. However, he emphasized that sincere spiritual intention matters infinitely more than perfect physical positioning. A genuine heart seeking divine protection in a humble room creates more spiritual safety than elaborate ritual performed without true commitment. The goal isn't creating complicated ceremony, but preparing environment that supports your soul's recognition of bedtime as sacred transition rather than unconscious surrender to whatever might happen in the unseen realms. When your sleep space honors the spiritual significance of nocturnal soul travel, your consciousness naturally shifts into reverent preparation rather than exhausted collapse. The prayer's protective power amplifies exponentially when embedded within conscious bedtime ritual. Cayce discovered that transitional moments, especially the shift from waking to sleeping consciousness, are when the soul is most receptive to spiritual programming. Your pre-sleep routine becomes the bridge between your physical day self and your spiritual night self, determining whether you approach soul travel with fear or faith, depletion or dedication, vulnerability or divine protection. The ritual begins with conscious transition from day self to night self. This means releasing the accumulated tensions, worries, and mental preoccupations that bind your consciousness to earth plane concerns, rather than allowing it to soar into spiritual dimensions. Cayce recommended brief physical relaxation to signal your nervous system that day mind is ending and soul awareness is beginning. This might be gentle stretching that releases physical tension from your muscles and joints, deep, conscious breathing that shifts your nervous system from sympathetic activation to parasympathetic rest, or a warm bath infused with intention to wash away not just physical grime, but energetic residue from the day's encounters. Next comes mental clearing. Review the day not for judgment or analysis, but for completion. Notice any unfinished emotional business, conversations that need forgiveness, gratitudes that went unexpressed, insights that want to be acknowledged. This isn't lengthy psychological processing, but conscious recognition that allows your soul to depart without dragging day residue into spiritual dimensions. Ask yourself, is there anyone I need to forgive before I sleep? Any gratitude I've forgotten to express? Any guilt or resentment I'm carrying that would lower my spiritual vibration during soul travel? Then align with spiritual purpose through intention setting. Ask yourself, what does my soul most need to receive during tonight's journey? Healing for specific emotional wounds that are ready to be released? Guidance for life decisions that require wisdom beyond your conscious understanding? Connection with departed loved ones whose love could comfort your current challenges? Greater understanding of your spiritual purpose in this lifetime. This intention setting helps your protected soul navigate toward experiences that serve your highest development, rather than random encounters that might confuse or drain your energy. Now speak the protection prayer, but not as rote recitation of memorized words. Visualize each phrase creating actual energetic effects around your physical body and preparing soul. See divine light filling your bedroom as you invoke spiritual presence. Feel protective energy surrounding your resting form as you call upon your guides and guardians. Sense lower astral entities naturally moving away from your elevated vibration as you declare your commitment to service and love. The prayer becomes active meditation rather than passive request. After the prayer, practice the paradox that defines enlightened spiritual practice. Surrender control while maintaining trust. You're not abandoning your traveling consciousness to whatever random experiences might occur in astral dimensions. You're releasing it into divine guidance while maintaining absolute faith that your highest good is being served through every encounter. This isn't passive resignation. It's active collaboration with divine will, trusting that the same intelligence that beats your heart and grows your fingernails is perfectly capable of guiding your soul's nocturnal adventures. Finally, transition into sleep with gratitude. Thank your body for carrying your soul through another day of earthly experience. Thank your soul for its willingness to explore spiritual dimensions for your growth and healing. Thank the divine forces that provide constant protection and guidance, whether you're conscious of them or not. This gratitude becomes the launching frequency for your soul's departure, not fear-based need for protection from a dangerous universe, but love-based appreciation for spiritual adventure in a cosmos designed to support your highest development. The entire ritual takes perhaps 15 to 20 minutes, but transforms sleep from unconscious collapse into conscious spiritual practice. Your soul departs knowing it's protected, purposeful, and prepared for whatever encounters await in the dimensions beyond physical awareness. When your soul travels under divine protection, the entire quality of nocturnal experiences transforms. Instead of random, confusing, or frightening encounters that leave you drained and disoriented, your protected consciousness naturally gravitates toward experiences that serve your spiritual development. Cayce's protected clients reported remarkably consistent types of beneficial soul travel night after night, creating cumulative spiritual advancement that revolutionized their waking lives. Healing encounters become commonplace. Your soul visits what Cayce called temples of healing in spiritual dimensions, luminous spaces where divine love repairs emotional wounds that physical therapy cannot touch, releases karmic patterns that have repeated across lifetimes, and restores energetic balance to systems depleted by earthly struggles. You might find yourself in crystalline chambers surrounded by beings of pure light who offer wordless healing that penetrates deeper than any medication or counseling session. These aren't fantasy experiences generated by wishful thinking. Cayce's clients would awaken with actual emotional healing, resolved phobias that had plagued them for decades, sudden peace about losses that had tormented them for years, or complete release from addictive patterns that conscious willpower couldn't overcome. The healing received during protected soul travel manifests as permanent transformation in waking life because it occurs at the causal level, where all physical and emotional experiences originate. Educational experiences multiply exponentially. Your protected soul seeks out wise teachers, sometimes departed loved ones who've gained wisdom through their transition, sometimes ascended masters whose consciousness has evolved beyond the need for physical incarnation, sometimes aspects of your own higher self that exist in dimensions of eternal knowing. The teaching doesn't come through words or concepts, but through direct transmission of understanding. You commune with consciousness that has resolved the very struggles you're facing. You absorb their wisdom not as information to be remembered, but as knowing to be embodied. You awaken with knowledge you didn't possess before sleeping, solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable, creative inspirations that feel channeled rather than self-generated, understanding about relationships that transforms how you interact with others. Service opportunities present themselves naturally. Protected souls become magnets for confused or lost entities, seeking help transitioning to their next stage of development. But instead of these encounters being draining or frightening, your protection allows you to serve as a clear channel for divine love that helps these souls find their way home to greater peace. You become a beacon of healing light in dimensions where light is desperately needed. Lost souls recognize your protected radiance and approach seeking the divine love that flows through you. You offer healing without taking on their pain, guidance without becoming responsible for their choices, love without depleting your own spiritual energy. This service creates positive karmic momentum that enhances every aspect of your earthly existence. Prophetic experiences increase as your soul gains access to what Cayce called the Akashic Records, the universal database containing every soul's experiences across all lifetimes, all probable futures, all potential paths of development. When your soul isn't defending against attack or recovering from spiritual drain, it can access glimpses of probable futures based on current choices, understand how past life experiences are influencing present circumstances, or receive guidance about your soul's overall purpose across multiple incarnations. These aren't rigid predictions, but flexible possibilities that help you make more enlightened choices in your current life. Connection with your spiritual support team deepens into ongoing relationship. You begin recognizing your guides and guardians as distinct personalities with specific areas of expertise. Some specialize in healing emotional wounds. Others offer guidance for creative projects. Others provide wisdom about relationship challenges or career decisions. These become continuing relationships that develop over months and years of protected soul travel, providing consistent guidance and support that transforms how you navigate earthly challenges. Most significantly, your dreams become coherent spiritual adventures rather than random psychological processing. You begin remembering more of your nocturnal journeys, understanding their symbolic meaning, and applying their guidance to waking life situations. Sleep becomes spiritually productive rather than just physically restorative. You awaken not just rested in body but elevated in consciousness, carrying insights and energetic upgrades from your soul's protected travels into every interaction of your day. Understanding the difference between spiritual attack and natural psychological processing is crucial for appropriate response. Not every disturbing dream indicates astral predation. Sometimes your psyche legitimately needs to process difficult emotions through dream symbolism, and spiritual protection doesn't prevent, nor should it prevent, this necessary psychological work. Cayce provided clear diagnostic criteria for distinguishing between different categories of nocturnal experience. Natural psychological processing dreams, even when disturbing or frightening, have certain recognizable characteristics. They relate directly to current life stresses, unresolved emotions, or psychological patterns you're actively working through in waking life. The dream content, while sometimes unpleasant, ultimately serves a processing function, helping you integrate difficult experiences or emotions that your conscious mind hasn't fully resolved. You awaken from these dreams feeling like you've worked through something, even if the dream itself was disturbing. There's a sense of completion, release, or understanding. The dream symbols clearly relate to your personal life, relationships, ongoing challenges, or inner conflicts that you recognize as your own material. These dreams might be intense, even frightening, but they don't leave you feeling invaded or drained. They feel like your own psyche doing necessary work. Spiritual attack dreams have distinctly different signatures that become unmistakable once you know what to recognize. They often feature entities that seem intelligent and purposeful rather than symbolic. These beings communicate directly with you, make specific demands, or attempt to convince you of things that contradict your spiritual values or personal knowing. The entities may claim authority over you, attempt to make you feel guilty or ashamed about your spiritual practices, or try to convince you that you're spiritually inadequate or unworthy of divine protection. They often use manipulation tactics, threats, bargaining, or false promises designed to make you lower your spiritual defenses. You awaken from these encounters feeling drained, confused, or invaded rather than processed. The experience feels foreign to your nature, disconnected from your current life circumstances. There's often a quality of violation, as if something has been done to you rather than worked through by you. Physical symptoms sometimes accompany genuine spiritual attack. Unexplained fatigue that doesn't respond to rest, sudden mood changes that feel alien to your personality, physical sensations of being touched or held down during sleep, unexplained marks on your body that appeared overnight, or persistent feelings of being watched even in empty rooms. However, Cayce emphasized that actual spiritual attack is relatively rare when souls maintain regular spiritual practice and divine protection. Most disturbing dreams fall into other categories that, while challenging, are ultimately beneficial for spiritual development. Past life memories surfacing for healing can create intense dreams featuring unfamiliar locations, time periods, or personas that feel simultaneously foreign and deeply familiar. These dreams often involve trauma or unfinished business from previous incarnations that your soul is ready to resolve in this lifetime. Unlike spiritual attack, past life dreams create recognition rather than violation. You sense that you're encountering your own material from another time, and the experience ultimately serves healing and integration. Encounters with confused but non-malicious entities evoke compassion rather than fear. These souls aren't trying to harm you. They're lost, seeking help or guidance. Your protected presence offers them healing light, and the encounter serves both your spiritual development and their transition to greater peace. The key distinction in all cases is energy quality. Spiritual attack leaves you feeling depleted, confused, and spiritually diminished. All other types of challenging nocturnal experience, while sometimes intense, ultimately leave you feeling clearer, more integrated, and spiritually strengthened. The protection prayer prevents actual spiritual attack while allowing all forms of beneficial nocturnal experience to continue. You don't become spiritually isolated, you become spiritually discerning. Your soul can still help lost entities receive guidance from teachers, process psychological material, and access past life healing. But predatory consciousness can no longer access your traveling awareness to feed, manipulate, or implant foreign energies into your spiritual system. One of the most beautiful aspects of protected soul travel is how your elevated consciousness naturally becomes a healing beacon for other souls struggling in confusion, fear, or spiritual darkness. Cayce discovered that souls operating under divine protection don't just receive benefits, they become conduits for divine love to reach consciousness trapped in lower vibrational states. When your traveling consciousness radiates protection frequency, it acts like a lighthouse in astral dimensions. Other souls who are lost, confused, or seeking healing are naturally drawn to your light. But instead of these encounters being draining or dangerous, your protection ensures they become opportunities for mutual spiritual service. You might find yourself approached during soul travel by recently departed souls who haven't yet realized they've transitioned from physical life. Death, especially sudden or traumatic death, can leave consciousness confused about its new state of existence. These souls sometimes wander in earthbound dimensions, unable to perceive the light that would guide them to their next stage of development. Your protected presence can serve as a bridge, offering them the love and guidance they need to recognize their transition and continue their spiritual journey. Your light helps them see the helpers who have been waiting to assist them all along. These encounters aren't frightening when you're spiritually protected. They become profound acts of compassion that benefit both souls. The departed soul receives guidance toward peace and continued growth. Your soul gains deeper understanding of the continuity of consciousness and the privilege of serving others' spiritual development.